My ex and I split a number of years ago and we have a child together. I took his surname when we married. We have both since recoupled and he is also now engaged. This has made me wonder, is it time for me to change my name back? I love my current name and it feels like a big part of who I am, personally and professionally. I also really love having the same surname as the child that we happily co-parent. Is it weird if I just keep the name? My new partner and I also have a child together and marriage will be on the cards one day, but I don't want to change my name multiple times and I much prefer my current name. Thoughts?
Okay, my immediate thought was absolutely don't change your name. Like, you love your name, you were married, you had that time of your life, your child has that name. I think it's so fine. Where it gets tricky now is that if you feel so strongly about having the same name as your child, but you just said you've got another child with your new partner, so I'm assuming it has your current partner's name. So then you've already got two children with different names, which is fine. But is there a way maybe you can hyphen the name so that everyone has the same names if that is your issue? I don't think because you split with someone, you have to change your name back. I know people that have kept their name for 10, 15, 20 years, like since they've broken up, because that's their new identity. That's who they became.
Totally.
And they're happy with that. Also, it's a fucking nightmare to change those documents back. Like filling out
Too
documents.
Lazy. Too lazy.
Yeah. So I think that this is like, for me, you absolutely don't have to change your name. My only consideration would be if you are having further children with your partner and you do want them all to have the same name, what does that look like? Can you hyphenate both names? Will your current partner not like that you've hyphenated with your ex-husband?
You're collecting husband's names.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, that's where for me, I don't know what I would do in that situation.
Okay, I think that there will be people who think that this is weird. Like, I think there'll be some people listening to this and they'll be like, why the fuck would you want to keep your ex-husband's name? But I have skin in this game, right? Not that I was ever...
You were divorced multiple times.
Byrne isn't even my maiden name.
My name's not even Laura.
My maiden name. That's a... Oh my God, that makes me feel so old. My maiden name.
You do, but you don't have a maiden name because you didn't change your name.
I said Byrne. No, I have skin in the game because of my mum. So my mum is Kim Vikansky. You know,
like
she was...
of Jerry Seinfeld.
Kim Vikansky. Yeah, well, look, I mean, my childhood probably could have been on... No, I was thinking Jerry Springer. Same, but different.
No, Seinfeld.
So my mum was a Philippi. Like, her parents are a Philippi. She got married to my dad. She turned into a Byrne. She then married my stepdad, who was an absolute fuckhead, and his name was Vikansky. And I would say that most people would keep a name of someone who they still are in good contact with. Like you said here, you happily co-parent alongside.
It's amicable.
Right? Like, you don't absolutely hate the person that you're not in a relationship anymore with. So in my mum's instance, and just to kind of give you a bit of the backstory, so, I mean, you guys know I've spoken about this a bit in the past or touched on it. Like, my stepdad was deeply problematic. That sounds harsh, but like, look, if we got into the nuance of that, you would probably think the same. Yeah. But his last name is Vikansky, and my mum took his last name when they got married. I have a younger brother who is quite a bit younger than me. He's my brother, but obviously he's my half brother because we have different dads, but I would never, ever refer to him as he's my brother.
On a technicality.
Yeah, and his last name is Vikansky. So we have a Matthias Vikansky in the house, a Kim Vikansky in the house, and two girls who are Byrne. And they got divorced when I was probably 13 or 12. I just started high school. And my mum decided to keep his last name, even though she resented him, even though he went on to have another marriage and had more children. She chose to keep the last name. And that a reason for that was, one, because she wanted my brother to have the same name as someone in that household, in our household. She didn't want him to be the only person. And I guess the way that I think about your situation here is your child has his last name. At least there's two people in your household who have the same last name. And then also you have the same last name as your other child. So everyone at least is connected to someone. Whereas if you change your name now to be the same as your new husband and your new child, it really isolates your child from the other marriage. You're like, they come into your household and they're the only kid that doesn't have the same last name. It's very othering. And so there's something that I think is actually quite beautiful about the fact that you have kept your last name and kept a little bit of that identity. And it also really reinforces to your first child that you are happily co-parenting with their dad, that you don't harbor animosity. And I think that that really shows like a healthy relationship and a really healthy way in which they can navigate relationships in the future. I don't think this is weird. I think you can keep last names. Names don't define your family. You can have multiple names in one family and your kids are going to grow up fine. And I think it's great.
I 100% agree. There's no right or wrong at all. It's what you feel, what your kids feel. Maybe you can have a discussion with your kids about how they feel. Like, I don't know if you want to actually put that decision into their hands, especially if they're 3. Who knows how that could end up. But yeah, there's don't feel guilty about this because there's literally no right or wrong.
And in our household, I'm the only one who's a Byrne. Actually, it's funny because Marley's like, nah, Buster's a Byrne as well, but we're all Johnsons. So she thinks the dog is a Byrne.
He
Just
probably
me,
is.
me and Buster Byrne.
Yeah, Delilah's Hockley.
Yeah, and she'll be Hockley for forever. It doesn't matter.
I remember when we were filling out the details, they were like, do you want it to be Thompson? Like, because I got Delilah with my ex, Jordan Thompson. Do you want it to be Thompson or Hockley? And even though at that time I was like, I'm going to marry this guy, I was like, but in case I don't, I was like, make her Hockley.
I'm keeping the dog.
Yeah, and I gave her Mayo as well, Delilah Mayo Hockley.
I have a question for you, Britt.
Yeah.
If you and Ben were to get married, would you take his last name?
No, I think so.
Brittany Segrist.
Yeah, that's hot.
Yeah, but it's
Brittany Mayo.
Do you know why I can't see it? And it's maybe it's because I'm so lazy and I kept my last name. It's because I think when you are someone who's created, your work around your name, like your name becomes like such a part of your identity.
Yeah,
I think it's almost like it feels like a bit of emotional whiplash to change your name.
I have thought about it because I think about getting married a lot.
No pressure, Ben. We know you listen.
If my time ever comes, I have always thought that I would change it to Segrist, and then when I have children, if I have children, that they would be Segrist. But publicly, I would just keep Hockley. Like I wouldn't change my handles on Instagram or because that's it. I don't go on radio or the podcast and go, "Hi guys, I'm Brittany Hockley." Like I'm just Brittany. So
Hockers.
Hock.com. It's just a technicality. So I think that I would probably change my name because I like the idea of that. I know a lot of people are like, fucking patriarchy and misogyny and whatever else. But I like the idea of everyone having the same name in a family.
Yeah. And I think for me, the reason why I think genuinely the reason why I haven't changed my name is purely because growing up, the last name was just so irrelevant because we were all a big, weird, mixed up family. And my mum changed her name and it didn't result in stability, everyone having the same name in a household didn't equate to a happy household. So I'm kind of like, we can be a happy household and I can have the last name Byrne and everyone else can have the last name Johnson. I don't feel isolated from my kids. I feel just as much their mum as anyone else. So.
I reckon if I didn't have, because I've got 2 older brothers that have had a lot of kids and they've got boys as well. Like the Hockley name is well and truly carried on. If I didn't have brothers and I knew that name wasn't going to be carried on, then I'd probably consider asking my partner to change it. But I've got so many Hockleys in the family now. So I'm like, I'll go to Segrist.
Yeah.
Or whoever is lucky enough to marry me.
I mean, Johnson.
Joking.
Sorry, man. Johnson isn't exactly a rare name. I think that they're doing okay.